So today we will build a patch from scratch with a cognitive shift module from Cella. This is the result. This will be more or less improvised, but I would like to create something a bit more techno-ish, let's say. So I have here, as always, clock 2 as my main clock, the mind-meld mixer setup with the send reverb, and I'm using color cabling. So I have here the cable color key from Inclen. Maybe it's easier to follow. And again, let's go with something a bit higher here, maybe 129. Already I'm going to clock the cognitive shift. Basically, it's sort of a Turing machine functionality. So also it will work with beats and active beats. And we can get rhythms and CV also. Of course, gates are also CV, but by CV I mean stepped voltage. Right, so already I'm clocking it. And let's start maybe with a nice bass. I will use the VCO unit. It has also built-in VCA. If we take this down to 0, the level, now we have here a CV input we can use to control the level, which is basically a VCA. Let's go, let's say, with the first output of the cognitive shift. This will go for now here to the input. And let's just start creating a rhythm. Now, if I just start writing beats, right, they will disappear after they get out of the sort of a shift register, but I can make this loop by sending, for example, the 8th output back to the XOR. Right, and now I can take another output, let's say the 4th output to the logic input. Right, and we get a more interesting rhythm. We can also, you know what, let's already work on the bass. So I will add, I like using chorus distortion. Maybe I will do this here, chorus distortion and filtering. Right, so this will go, the oscillator will go to the chorus. This is electric ensemble from Flag. Then to the distortion from SurgeXT. If I right click the outputs of the distortion, this can go directly to the inputs of the filter. And from there, this will go directly to the mixer. Right, add some chorus. First of all, you know what? Let's take this 2 octaves down. Right, add some chorus. Some distortion, maybe hard clipping. Right, and let's start with this here and take all the way down, maybe sustain all the way down. And now we have here again also CV outputs, so we can also use this to modulate things. If I take 1 to 8, for example, right, we get really a sequence. So this is great, for example, to control or to sequence the decay. Oh, and also the release, maybe like this. Maybe inverted. Something like this. Right, so this will be more or less the rhythm here. Let's call this bass. Right, maybe take the level a bit down. Now I will add another layer here. Another layer. First of all, you know what? I will add another envelope that will be again with the same gates. It will be a bit shorter. This will control the filter. Maybe, you know what, maybe let's go with the saw wave. Then maybe not hard clipping, maybe let's go back to the OJD. Oh yeah. Something like this. Maybe also here I can use the same, or maybe different modulation. Right, and then add some delay here in parallel. So I'm going to send a copy of the filter. Again, right click it, this row delay input, mix all the way up, because again, this is a copy of the sound. We don't need the dry signal twice. This will go to another channel. I will also sync it. Hopala. Right, maybe take the lows a bit out, more, maybe more modulation, more feedback. Right, this will be bass delay, take the level a bit down. And reverb, send reverb. And already what I will do, I will use the patch master. Right, patch master, I will add here macro controls. So I will add a big, large, let's say unipolar knob. Right, and I will map it. If I click Shift and 1, this will be the first mapping. I will map the filter. Right, so now I can control the filter. Right, with this control, and I will call this filter cutoff. Right, and now I have here a few, I will add maybe, I don't know, let's see, a few performative controls. Right, but already we have here a nice bass. Right, let's already add also a kick drum. I don't know, let's try the new kick drum from 4MS, the XOX kick drum. And I don't know, I'm not really a fan of 4 on the floor. So let's see what we can get with another cognitive shift here. I will trigger it with the same clock, again multiplied by 4 to get 16th notes. Now we send output 7 to the data input. So we'll have a 7-step. Let's do something like this. Let's start. I just wrote something. Let's see how this will work. Again, the first output, we just get a 7-step sequence. But now, I don't know if this will work, because then adding modules, each module you add adds one sample of delay, latency or delay, or lag. And I don't know if feedback will work with this module if I send it first to a different output, because what I want to do, I want to create variation, take the third output for example, send it to the logic input, and then take it out. Right, and again take it in, and take it out. Right? So if I use a switch, I'm unsure if this will work. Let's see. Set it to latch, this is the switch from Bog Audio. This will go to the logic input. Let's see if this works. I will switch it. No. Right, so what's happening here? Basically, I'm adding delay. Right, I'm adding one sample delay by adding this module here, the switch, which means that this will reach the cognitive shift a bit too late for it to make any difference. So let's have, you know what, instead of using the 7th output here, let's use an LFO. I will use the LFO triangle, let's say, in the data input. Right, and it will use the LFO and will add some variation. Right, so there is some variation. Instead of trying to create all sorts of feedback loops here, I will use again, let's use, for example, for the saturation, one of the outputs, CV outputs, maybe the first one. Right, just to have a bit of something like this. Maybe we can get also a nice click for the kick. Maybe with, I'm unsure, maybe with the rim, with the same rhythm. I just want to mix it like, let's take the CV mix. just to have another layer, like a clicky layer, right? This is the same kick. Right? Right, this is just the rim. Together it's clicky, without it, it's dark. So now we have click. What I like doing, if you watch my videos, wherever I have a kick drum, I use Step Dancer, 129 Opalach BPM. That is here. Right? Ducking, drive. If it's a bit, don't know if it's a bit too loud or not. But now we have also a kick with a cognitive shift. Is there not enough reverb here? Maybe also a bit on the bass, I don't know. Maybe the level of the kick is a bit too high now. Right, okay, let's see what else we can do with another cognitive shift. Maybe in this case we can use a different shape, or maybe it will be synced to the LFO, but it will be a different shape. For example, with the wave multiplier from Venom, it can also process CV, turn off DC block, turn off oversampling, no need for oversampling for this. I will use, let's say, the sine wave. Right, if I turn off wave multiplier, you can see we just have a sine wave. Right, if I bring it on, the sine wave now is much more intense. Maybe let's use for a second just one without the input. Right, without the sine wave, just one of the outputs. Let's see what happens here when again I use this as the data input. I'm going to leave the scope here. Let's have a VCO unit. Let's have a, you know what, let's try this without a quantizer. Let's just take this down a bit, the range here, and let's see what happens. You know what I will do? Let me, for a second, maybe add another of the waves. Yes, this is better. And I can use a clock divider to control the level of the wave multiplier, clock division, I mean. Maybe divided by 8. But I do need here a quantizer, and not any quantizer. I will use Quantum. Where is it now? Quantum from ML, because it has also a gate output that I can use with another envelope. Right, let's do something like this. Right, something like this. And let's use 2 VCO units. Right, the pitch will go to both of them, and one VCO unit will modulate the phase of the other VCO unit. And we can do this also dynamically. So let's have the mod 7 from Cella. First of all, modulate the shape of the sine wave. And then the level of the second VCO unit here. And this will be the level of phase modulation, basically. Also here we can modulate the shape. Right, in this case, because I'm using a bipolar signal, if I right click this, I can change this to a bipolar VCA. Right, maybe modulate the phase also. This will add some detuning. Right, also the phase, the phase I'm already modulating there. Right. And now maybe we can use echo. The delay, echo the delay. Again, sync it to the clock. Sync this to the clock, and then first of all toggle all clock sync. Second of all, snap to musical intervals. And let's do this. 1 and 2. And let's have another tap. 1 pen to the left, 1 pen to the right. Right, or maybe no, that's okay. Right, some reverb. Maybe something like this with a longer attack. Right, maybe here it can be a triangle wave, the modulator. Soon we will start sidechaining things also, I think. Maybe mute the kick for a second. What I want to do here, maybe, you know, maybe something I do a lot is I add another tap, maybe reverse it. And then I will add Nimbus, which is a Cloud's clone in pitch shifter mode, to the send and return of this reversed tap. I cannot even solo it. Right, mix all the way up just to listen to it for a second. Also here on Nimbus, mix all the way up. Pitch 12 semitones up, so an octave. Size, diffusion, maybe some reverb, spread. Right, so it will take it an octave up. And I can even add modulation here to the position to make this even a bit more granular. Oh, what am I doing here? Right? For stability, I will use Platts as a hi-hat. Analog hi-hat as a open hat or closed hat on the offbeat. So multiplied by 1 is okay. We can delay this by an eighth, and then we get the offbeat, and this will trigger the hi-hat. This will be sick. This will be hat. Right? Already I can hear this. Right, maybe also here with some delay, maybe we can go with Prince of Perception. There are so many interesting delays, I love it. Prince of Perception with some panning maybe. Right, something like this. The delay basically adds here sorts of dynamics, ghost notes. Right, and we have another LFO here somewhere, right? So I can modulate also the panning. Maybe a bit quicker. Right, this will be hi-hat. Also for the hi-hat, maybe I can add another macro control. So Shift D to duplicate this, so I have another knob, Shift 1 for mapping, and I will map the decay, which is morph in this case. Right, something like this, hat, opalach, or hi-hat, decay. And maybe while it's doing this, let me bring this here for a second. While it's doing this, I can add also mix, so Shift 2 for the second mapping, I can add also mix. So when it's all the way down, right click menu, map to, I can add some mix, right? So it starts from here, but then, right? And also shift 3 for the third mapping for feedback. Again, right click, mapping 3. I can push this a bit, right? So it starts from here, the feedback, and then maybe even a bit of high passing. Right, again, mapping 4, push this a bit up, right where it was before, somewhere like this. Very nice. So now, right, and you know what? Instead of the feedback was what? Mapping 3, right? Instead of the feedback, I will unmap this. Instead of the feedback, let's go with send reverb. Right, so mapping 3, let's go with the range all the way down, maybe not all the way to maximum. Right, let's look here at the, look, this is the send reverb. Maybe a bit more. This was 3. The bass is a bit too loud. And you know what? Let's bring this back here, right? Already we have 2. I need maybe indeed some stability, maybe another kick. I don't know. Let's go with analog bass drum on plats with 4 to the floor. Let's say I'm not a fan. But maybe something like this, just like a click, just for stability. Right, let's call this kick 2. Right, it's not really 4 to the floor, but I don't know, there is some more stability here because everything is so not random, but also not so repetitive. Let's see if we can add a nice snare, and that's it for today, okay? With another cognitive shift. Again, multiplied by 4. I wonder if I can chain them in some way. I don't know. Let's see if I can chain them in some way. Like, for example, the 8 from here will go to this data, the 8 from here will go to this data. But again, we have the issue of the... yes, indeed it's working. I thought because of the delay it will not work, but here it works. Very cool, very cool, very cool. So let's go with the snare, or maybe the clap. I don't know. Let's go with the snare from 4MS. This is not... I want to mix them. I'm not really mixing the gates here. I want to mix 2 streams of gates, but I'm not really mixing them because they will never happen at the same time. So it's not really mixing them. But let's maybe here write something a bit different, just so we have... Or maybe, you know what, I see they are happening at the same time. So maybe I will use logic. There is the logic from VCV. And I will use... We will see either OR or XOR, depends what will give us a nice result. Or we'll basically combine them, so it will use all gates. Just solo this for a second. Okay, if I use output 7. Okay, and maybe here output 6 for the logic also. Okay, now we are cooking. Body decay, noise decay. Noise decay with this modulation. body decay with this modulation, saturation with this here output, body noise I like. Right, something like this. Very cool. The last thing I will add is not a snare, will be side chaining. So I'm going to add here a reverb. I'm going to add a gated reverb after the snare. So first of all, set the reverb, no need for low frequencies, bit more decay, no need for modulation, and then use another output, maybe output 3, to clear the reverb. Right? Take the lows, let's call this snare, take the lows a bit out, high pass, right, take the level a bit down, and you know what I will do, I want this also to be panned left and right, so I will add the fade module from VCV, maybe with the holder module from Cella, right, so with the same triggers, this will trigger random voltage that will then pan the snare. So the snare goes to input 1, and then 1 and 2 goes to the reverb, all the way left, all the way right, and we have here panning modulation, random panning modulation, right? Right, so it adds another layer here. And now, you know what I will do? I will sidechain everything to the 4 on the floor to the floor, from the floor. Let's start with the kick. Oppressor from flag, lots of flag, always good. The key is the sidechain here. It will come from the 4 to the floor kick. If I solo for a second the kick here, maybe even all the way up. Right, the same I will do with the bass before it turns into stereo. Oppressor. Again, the bass and then the kick. Let's solo the bass for a second. Maybe again. All the way. The thing is that this kick is not very dominant, so maybe I will use a dummy kick. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Let's use a dummy kick, another one here from 4MS. And this will be our key. Maybe a bit less decay. Right, something like this. This will be the same key for the second. Oppressor. Let's have here also some sort of side chaining. Okay, before the delay, I'm convinced will not help so much, but maybe just a bit. Before the delay, oppressor with the dummy kick that we have here. Again, let's take this all the way up, why not? It does add something also for this snare. Okay, but for the snare, I want this after the reverb. So you know what? Just because I don't want to spend so much time now, I'll just add 2 oppressors. I can use also the commercial oppressor Pro, which is stereo, which is great. If you have it, use it. If you don't, you should consider getting it because it has many useful features. There is a video already about it. But because I want to keep this just with 3 modules, I will use 2 oppressors. And you know what? Also here, Control C, Control V. Right? And we have it. Very cool. Right? Still the bass is a bit too loud. Right, so there are some macro controls. We have a nice patch going. And that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.